Hey, this is the World Advice Channel 2. This is part 2 of my video series where I discuss an important message to liberals. Okay, so for part 2, this video you can see right here, I'm just gonna finish up the second part of my video series, which of course consists of me finishing up the point I was making the last time, which of course related to dealing with government corruption. Because the truth of the matter is, okay, when we look at the history of government corruption, okay, which of course the biggest people who are against capitalism, let alone people in general who are against capitalism always make, they always say the same fucking thing. Okay, capitalism produces corruption. Through corruption, nothing gets done. It causes a lot of problems, crime, and this and that, and just it destroys society. Okay, and don't get me wrong, corruption, as I can understand, I think anyone who uses their brain can understand, is a really fucking damn annoying thing, in honesty. Okay. So yes, to answer your question, yes, it is really goddamn annoying, to be quite blunt and honest with you. But at the same time, to be quite blunt and honest with you, yes, it is an irritant. But at the same time, when we look at history of course, government corruption, there actually is very effective ways to prevent it from happening, which actually, if you follow the proper protocol, it actually gets shit done. When you look at the history of America, which is a perfect example, of literally anything for that matter, when it comes to politics and the state of the world in general, but with one of them being, of course, how to deal with government corruption, they've actually had a very good time for the longest time when it comes to dealing with corruption, okay? When it comes to, in other words, to be more specific, preventing corruption when you have liberals in charge. They actually are the methods they use, which, like, for example, is regulating the markets, like which of course you could see with Wall Street back in the days, was very effective, and it always prevented things from happening. Okay, whenever they're in charge, whether it could be going back decades ago to even up to Bill Clinton, and stuff. When they actually regulated the markets, everything went fucking smoothly. To be quite blunt and honest with you, okay? To answer your question, everything went so damn well, okay? And whenever you actually look at it, anytime America had a growth of prosperity, okay? Look at the history yourself, okay? You can look it up your fucking self, okay? I know I shouldn't be swearing, well, what, I can swear, but it's my fucking videos anyway. But the point is, I say this because I'm very passionate, because shit pisses me off, because conservatives really do ruin shit. Okay, look at every time America has ever had a growth of prosperity. It's always been when a liberal was in charge. Even when you go all the way back to the figures of the past, like Roosevelt, and stuff, and even some of the great leaders like John F. Kennedy, another good example, and just anyone who led the nation forward, they were all left-wing people, okay? And it's because left-wingism as an ideology works. It gets shit done. Conservatism sucks and doesn't get anything done, okay? And anytime America has prospered, whether it could be under Theodore Roosevelt or even John F. Kennedy, and another one obviously could be Bill Clinton, all those people, those were all left-wing people, okay? And they got shit done, okay? And one of the things that also made them get the shit done was actually having regulations that were actually put in place to make sure corrupt people don't fuck up everything. And that's really the honest truth of the matter right then and there. Okay, to be quite honest with you, they get shit done, okay? And for that matter, when they actually have things in place with the anti-corruption measures, there's actually no corruption, because liberals actually know how to run a fucking country. And the only time there ever is issues with the market, it's always when conservatives come into power, and it's of course the masters of ruining literally everything get their asses into power. They fuck up everything. They not only fuck up everything, in general for that matter, like obviously turn the American public against each other, white versus black, Hispanic versus black, white versus this and that, and just cause a lot of problems because they don't know how to run fucking shit. They're just losers. To answer your question, it's not, to be honest, when you look at the history of conservatism, they're really just losers. They don't get anything done, for that matter, to be quite blunt and honest with you. Whether it could be their leaders or even a lot of the people who support conservatism, specifically the ones who have always been conservative versus the new wave of conservative people, okay? Those conservatives don't know how to run shit. They ruin literally everything, and everything that we take for granted, even the great entertainment of the past, from music, TV shows, movies, they hated it at the time. And now they look back at it and say, oh, I actually like that stuff. It shows America for what it really is. But you guys were hating it at the time and saying what's against family values. They're just fucking losers, to answer your question. They've always been losers, and they will continue to be losers for the Donna Thomas homes that silly ideology exists, okay? They're just losers, and they don't get anything freaking done. And they just bully people and harass people. They're just losers, okay, to answer your question, okay? And when it comes to them taking over from when there's actually good anti-corruption measures being put in place, they just take it away, and then there's problems, just like we saw with the 2008 financial crisis. And have we ever really truly recovered from that? I don't think so. Yes, of course, the effects, at least directly from it, is not as bad as it was in the early 2010s, for that matter. But we can still see the effect today because the economy never truly recovered from the 2008 financial crisis, and then we had COVID that shut down everything, and it just made the situation even freaking worse. Okay? So, to answer your question, those things happen because they don't know how to run shit, and they don't know how to have good anti-corruption measures, okay? To answer your question. So in short, to answer your question, yes, capitalism can work, okay? It's always been a part of human history in one way, shape, or form. The trading of money in order to get this and that and this and that. It's always existed. It's just, of course, to be quite blunt and honest with you, okay, it just conservatives give it a bad name like they do literally fucking everything. They just ruin everything. Even the idea of having a society with morals, they ruin everything. Just like the gay community issue, okay? To be honest with you, if you want to be gay, that's your choice, okay? But the thing is, like anything in the world, it's a personal choice that people have to make. And when you really look at it, there's actually many negative effects it has on people's lives for people who join that stuff. But now you say that shit, people are just gonna say, oh, you're just another conservative. They ruin everything. They literally do ruin everything. They're just losers and everything. And most of the reason why we even have the gun control conversations anyway is because, for that matter, okay, because these people are always asking for no regulations on guns. Why the fuck do you need a gun that has a freaking 30 round clip and can go fully automatic? Okay, if these people were for gun control, like moderately gun control, we're not talking about banning guns, we wouldn't have the radical liberals who say let's ban guns. They're just losers, and they've always been losers. They're the type of people who hear something and run off and do it. They're just losers. Even when you meet them in real life, sometimes you can tell they're conservative just by the way they do things, and even just the way they think. They just say things and they don't really do anything, to really use their head properly. They're just losers. They've always been losers, and they will continue to be losers forever. They don't do anything. They really don't, in all honesty. And they're just fucking lame, and they just screw up everything. To answer your question, okay? So in short, to answer your question, to be quite blunt and honest with you, yes, I absolutely do believe, to be quite blunt and honest with you, with a shot of a doubt, without no questions asked, okay, can capitalism work? Yes, it can work. All we need to do is have proper regulation, because obviously if you have good anti-corruption regulations, then you don't have to worry about people being corrupt, because these things have proven to work. I know people bring up these straw man arguments like, well, how do you know that person who's going to prevent the corruption is not going to take some money themselves? All these silly arguments that are at this point just straight up elementary, but at the same time, if it hadn't worked, then we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have done as well as we did, specifically referring to Americans, let alone us in the West, like where I live in Canada, being included in the West, for literally decades. If there wasn't ways to prevent corruption, then we wouldn't have had the issue. Then we wouldn't have had a civilization that has at least been in its current form for the past 100 or so years. It would have collapsed. So to answer your question, yes, capitalism can survive. It just can you make sure there's regulations on it and not make sure that the people who ruin literally everything, conservatives, don't get their fucking hands on it and screw every damn thing up like they usually do. And that's the truth. So that's the second part of my video when it comes to the important message of liberals. So if you're a liberal watching this video, I hope you learned something from this video. So in short, to answer your question, this is the message I want for liberals. If we can change these two ways of thinking, then we can start winning elections, okay? That is the honest truth of the matter, to be quite blunt and honest with you, okay? So to speak the honest truth, can liberals change? Yes. And if we do change, we'll win more elections, we'll be more accepted by the general public, you know? So as a result, we can, of course, as a whole, live a much better, happier life, because we can actually have a world that's actually properly run. There's no racial tensions and all that stuff because conservatives are out of power, and that's the truth. So anyway, this is my video. This is all to say. I hope you enjoyed it. Simply put, I'm out. So bye.